Growing up, I thought every family had one person designated as the permanent babysitter. That person was always me. From age 12 onwards, every family gathering meant the same routine. Adults would disappear to enjoy themselves while I managed whatever children were present. Birthdays, holidays, graduations, anniversaries. If kids needed watching, I was automatically volunteered. "Sarah's so good with children," they'd say, as if being good at something meant I should do it for free forever. "She doesn't mind. She loves kids." Nobody ever asked if I actually loved spending every social event chasing toddlers around while everyone else relaxed with wine and adult conversation. The pattern started innocently enough. When I was 12 and my cousin Jake was born, I helped Mom watch him during family dinners. She praised me for being such a responsible big girl, and I felt proud. By 13 I was watching Jake plus his older sister Emma during every gathering. By 14 it was Jake, Emma, and 2 more cousins. The number kept growing as my relatives had more children, but my role never changed. "Sarah will watch them" became the automatic response to any childcare need. Going to a restaurant? Sarah watches the kids in the play area. Adult party at someone's house? Sarah sets up camp in the basement with all the children. Wedding reception? Sarah misses the ceremony to babysit in the hotel room, then spends the reception keeping kids quiet in the corner. I never received payment. When I tentatively suggested it once at 16, my aunt laughed. "We're family. You don't charge family for helping out." But somehow this logic only applied to me. When my cousin Derek mowed Uncle Mike's lawn, he got $20. When I provided 8 hours of childcare at a family reunion, I got a pat on the head and told I was such a good sport. The worst part wasn't missing out on family conversations or adult activities. It was watching my cousins grow up to expect this arrangement. By the time the oldest kids I'd babysat became teenagers themselves, they looked at me with mild confusion when I tried to join adult conversations. To them, I wasn't really an adult family member. I was Sarah, the babysitter who happened to be related to them. High school was particularly brutal. While my friends spent weekends at movies or hanging out, I was committed to endless family obligations. Every Friday night, someone needed childcare. Every Saturday, there was a birthday party requiring supervision. Every Sunday, extended family dinner meant wrangling whoever's kids were present that week. "You can go out with friends anytime," Mom would say when I protested. "Family comes first." But family never seemed to come first for anyone else. My brother got to skip family events for sports practices. My sister was excused from gatherings because of her part-time job. Only my schedule was considered completely flexible and available. College offered brief respite, but summer breaks brought me right back into the babysitter role. Even worse, my relatives had become accustomed to professional-level childcare from me. They expected me to plan activities, provide snacks, handle multiple age groups simultaneously, and deal with behavioral issues, all while remaining cheerful and grateful for the opportunity to help family. The breaking point should have come during my junior year spring break. Instead of relaxing after finals, I spent the entire week providing free childcare for 3 different families who were so busy with work. I watched 9 children across 7 days, missing my friend's beach trip because Sarah's so responsible and we really need the help. But I kept accepting it. Part of me still believed I was being helpful, that good family members sacrifice for each other. Another part feared the confrontation that would come from saying no. I'd built my entire family identity around being useful, and without that usefulness, what value did I have to them? The real wake-up call came during my therapy sessions in college. When I mentioned spending every family gathering babysitting, my therapist looked puzzled. "Every gathering? What about your relationships with your adult family members?" I realized I didn't have relationships with my adult family members. I had work relationships. They knew me as a service provider, not as a person with thoughts, feelings, and interests. I couldn't remember the last time an aunt or uncle asked about my major, my goals, or my life. Our interactions revolved entirely around childcare logistics. "Do you enjoy spending time with these children?" my therapist asked. The honest answer surprised me. I did like kids in general, but I resented these particular children because they represented my prison. I felt guilty about that resentment, which made the whole situation worse. I was trapped caring for kids I'd grown to resent while missing out on the adult relationships I craved. Graduation brought new challenges. Now that I was a real adult with a job, surely the babysitting would end? Instead, it intensified. Sarah's schedule is more flexible than ours, became the new reasoning. Because I wasn't married or didn't have children of my own, my time was still considered less valuable than everyone else's. The requests became more elaborate too. Instead of just watching kids during gatherings, I was expected to provide full weekend childcare when parents wanted romantic getaways. I was volunteered for school pickups when regular babysitters canceled. I became the emergency contact for every child in the extended family. It's good practice for when you have your own kids, my sister-in-law cheerfully explained while dropping off her 3 children for another unpaid weekend of babysitting. The assumption that I definitely wanted children of my own, and that caring for other people's children was somehow preparing me for that, felt particularly galling. By age 27, I calculated that I'd provided thousands of hours of free childcare. If I'd been paid minimum wage for those hours, I could have afforded a decent car or a down payment on a house. Instead, I had nothing to show for it except a family reputation as someone who was always available and never said no. The Christmas that changed everything started like all the others. Mom called in November with the familiar directive: Christmas Eve at our house this year. The cousins are bringing all their kids, so we'll need you to handle the children while we enjoy dinner and catch up. 8 children ranging from ages 3 to 12 would be attending. I was expected to keep them entertained, fed, and quiet while the adults had their celebration upstairs. After dinner, I'd put the younger ones down for naps and continue supervising the older ones until parents decided it was time to leave. What time should I arrive? I asked, already mentally preparing for another lost holiday. Come early to help set up the kid area in the basement, Mom instructed. And maybe prepare some activities. Last year they got a little loud during dinner. Something about that phrase, "they got a little loud during dinner," struck me wrong. These weren't my children. I hadn't chosen to have 8 kids. Yet somehow their noise during dinner was my responsibility to prevent. I was being held accountable for managing children who weren't mine, during a holiday celebration I wasn't really participating in. That night I called my college therapist. Though I hadn't spoken to her in 2 years, she remembered me and agreed to a phone session. "What would happen if you said no?" she asked. "They'd be angry. They're counting on me." "What would actually happen to the children if you weren't there?" I paused. "Their parents would have to watch them." "And would that be harmful to the children?" "No, it would be normal. Parents watching their own children is normal. So the only person harmed by you saying no would be adults who would have to parent their own children during a family gathering?" Put that way, it sounded ridiculous. These weren't single parents struggling to make ends meet. These were couples with comfortable incomes who wanted to enjoy adult conversation without the responsibility of watching their own children. They weren't asking for help during emergencies. They were asking me to provide luxury childcare so they could pretend to be childless for an evening. "I think I've been enabling them," I admitted. "What would you do with your time if you weren't babysitting?" The question caught me off guard. I'd been babysitting for so long, I'd forgotten that family gatherings could involve anything else. I'd talk to people, learn about their lives, share what's happening in mine, actually participate in my own family. That sounds like what most people do at family gatherings. He was right. Most people went to family events to connect with relatives, not to provide unpaid labor. I'd somehow become the designated service provider rather than a family member. We developed a plan. I would attend Christmas Eve but decline the babysitting role. If they insisted, I would leave. I practiced responses for common guilt trips. "I'm here to spend time with family, not work. The children have parents who can supervise them. I'm not available for childcare tonight." The week before Christmas, I felt increasingly anxious. This family dynamic had been in place for 15 years. Changing it would cause conflict, disappointment, and probably anger. But continuing it meant accepting that my role in this family was as unpaid help rather than a valued member. I decided to test the waters by calling my cousin Janet, whose 3 kids I frequently watched. "Hey, I'm looking forward to Christmas Eve," I said. "I'm excited to actually catch up with everyone this year instead of being stuck in the basement with kids." Long pause. "What do you mean?" "I mean I won't be babysitting this year. I want to participate in the adult gathering." Another pause. "But who's going to watch the kids?" "You and the other parents, I assume." "Sarah, that's not really practical. There are 8 children. The adults want to enjoy themselves. And I want to enjoy myself too. I'm an adult member of this family, not hired help." But you're so good with kids and you don't have any of your own to worry about. There it was. The assumption that because I didn't have children my time and desires were less important than people who did. I'm good at lots of things, but that doesn't mean I should do them for free forever. I can't believe you're being this selfish right before Christmas. The word selfish hit hard because I'd been avoiding it my entire life. Being called selfish was my greatest fear and family members knew it. But my therapist had prepared me for this. Wanting to participate in my own family gathering isn't selfish, I said. Expecting someone else to provide free childcare so you can ignore your children is selfish. Janet hung up on me. Within hours my phone was buzzing with messages from other family members. The word had spread quickly. Sarah was refusing to help with kids, and being difficult. The guilt trips came in waves. Mom, I'm very disappointed in you. Family helps family. My brother, can't you just do this one more time? It's Christmas. Aunt Carol, the kids will be so confused if you're not there for them. Sister-in-law, I don't know what's gotten into you but this isn't like you. That last message was the most revealing. This wasn't like me because they'd never known the real me. They only knew Sarah the babysitter, always available and never complaining. The idea that I might have needs, wants, or boundaries was genuinely foreign to them. Christmas Eve morning I woke up with a clear head. I dressed nicely, wrapped the gifts I'd bought for the adults. I'd stopped buying gifts for the 8 children years ago when I realized their parents never reciprocated, and prepared for a normal family gathering. The plan was simple. Arrive at the usual time, socialize with adults, eat dinner with everyone else, and leave at a reasonable hour like any other family member. If someone tried to direct me toward childcare duties, I would politely decline and redirect the conversation. I arrived at 4 p.m. as requested. The house was already chaotic with children running around while adults tried to have conversations over the noise. I could see the expectation in everyone's eyes. Surely now I would swoop in and remove the children from their space. Instead, I hung up my coat and walked into the living room. Hi everyone. How was your drive, Uncle Pete? Janet, I love your haircut. Mom appeared at my elbow within minutes. Sarah, the kids are getting pretty wound up. Maybe you could take them downstairs and get them settled. Oh, I'm not babysitting tonight. I'm here to visit with family. How's your new job going, Uncle Pete? The room went quiet except for the children's noise. I could feel stares but I kept my attention on Uncle Pete who looked confused by the sudden focus on his job. Sarah, Mom said more firmly. We've talked about this. The cousins are counting on you. The cousins are welcome to handle their own children, I said cheerfully. Janet, how's the new house working out? But Janet wasn't interested in discussing her house. Sarah, this isn't fair. We planned around you being available. I never agreed to be available. You assumed I would be. The tension was thick enough to cut but I maintained my pleasant demeanor. I was having the family gathering I'd always wanted, talking to adults about their lives, sharing updates about my job, discussing holiday plans. It felt wonderful. The children, meanwhile, were becoming increasingly disruptive without their usual handler. Parents kept glancing at me expectantly, waiting for me to cave and take over. When I didn't, they were forced to actually parent. Tommy, stop hitting your sister. Emma, indoor voice please. Jake, get down from there. It was chaos, but it was their chaos to manage. I wasn't responsible for their children's behavior or their inability to control them in social situations. Dinner was announced at 6 p.m. I took my usual seat at the adult table, something I hadn't done in years. Previously, I would have been in the basement feeding the children first, then grabbing a plate to eat alone while continuing to supervise. Where are the kids going to sit? Someone asked. At the kids' table like usual, Mom said, gesturing toward the smaller table set up in the dining room corner. But who's going to help them with their food and keep them quiet? All eyes turned to me again. I smiled and shook my head. Their parents, I imagine. What followed was the most chaotic family dinner in recent memory. Parents had to take turns getting up to help their children, cutting food, cleaning spills, and managing noise levels. Conversations were constantly interrupted by parenting duties. For the first time in 15 years, I ate a hot meal while it was still hot. I participated in adult conversations without constantly monitoring children in my peripheral vision. I felt like a family member instead of staff. The breaking point came around 8 p.m. The adults were trying to enjoy coffee and dessert, but the children were melting down from overstimulation and sugar crashes. 3 kids were crying, 2 were fighting, and the older ones were running around unsupervised. "This is ridiculous," my cousin Derek announced. "Sarah, just take them downstairs for an hour. We can't even hear ourselves think." "No," I said simply. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean no. I'm not babysitting tonight. I'm here as a guest, just like you. But the kids need supervision." "Then supervise them. They're your kids." Derek's face turned red. "You're being incredibly selfish. It's Christmas Eve." "Yes, it's Christmas Eve and I'm trying to enjoy it with my family. Your children's behavior is your responsibility, not mine." The room erupted. Multiple family members started talking at once, all variations on the same theme. I was being unreasonable, selfish, and ruining Christmas. How could I sit there enjoying myself while children needed attention? But one voice cut through the chaos. My cousin Mark, Janet's husband. "You know what? He's right. These are our kids. Why should Sarah spend every family gathering working while we relax?" Janet shot him a death glare. "Mark, not now. No, seriously. When did we decide it was Sarah's job to raise our children during family events? I feel like an ass now thinking about it." Uncle Pete cleared his throat. "Well, Sarah's always been so good with them. Being good at something doesn't mean you should be forced to do it for free forever," Mark continued. "Sarah, I'm sorry. We've been taking advantage of you for years." His words broke something open in the room. I could see recognition dawning on some faces. Not all, but some. They were realizing how unfair this arrangement had been. But others doubled down. "If Sarah won't help, then we should just leave," Janet announced. "Kids, get your coats." "Actually," I said, standing up, "I think I'm the one who should leave. You all clearly have some things to work out regarding childcare expectations." I gathered my coat and purse while arguments continued around me. Some family members were apologizing, others were defending the old system, and parents were trying to manage their overstimulated children. As I reached the door, Mom followed me. "Sarah, please don't go. Can't you just help out this one last time?" "Mom, there will always be one last time as long as I keep saying yes. I love you and I love this family, but I'm not the designated babysitter anymore." "But what are we going to do with all these kids?" "The same thing every other family in America does. The parents will handle their own children." I drove home feeling lighter than I had in years. My phone buzzed constantly with messages, some apologetic, others angry, most confused. I turned it off and spent Christmas Eve reading a book in peaceful silence. Christmas Day brought a flood of messages. Some family members expressed genuine remorse for taking advantage of me. Others remained angry, insisting I had ruined Christmas and was being selfish and ungrateful. A few parents admitted they'd never realized how much work managing children actually was when you couldn't hand them off to someone else. The most telling message came from my 10-year-old cousin Emma. "Why didn't you play with us yesterday? I missed hanging out with you." It broke my heart because I realized the children had suffered too. They'd grown attached to me as their special family member, not understanding that I was missing out on relationships with everyone else. The system had been unfair to all of us. I wrote back, "I love spending time with you, Emma, but I want to spend time with your mom and dad and everyone else too. Maybe next time we can all play together." Over the following weeks, the family slowly adjusted to new dynamics. Some gatherings became less child-friendly as parents decided it was easier to hire actual babysitters. Other events became more inclusive, with activities that worked for mixed age groups rather than completely segregating children. A few family members never forgave me for changing the rules, and stopped inviting me to their events. Initially this hurt, but I came to realize these weren't relationships I'd lost. They were work arrangements that had ended. These people had never valued me as a person, only as free labor. The family members who mattered found ways to include me as an adult. We developed new traditions and deeper relationships. I started hosting smaller gatherings where children were welcome but parents remained responsible for them. These events were more enjoyable for everyone because no one person was overwhelmed with childcare duties. 6 months later, at Easter dinner, something wonderful happened. I was having a conversation with my aunt about her recent trip to Europe when her 5-year-old son tugged on her sleeve. "Mom, I'm bored," he whined. Without missing a beat, she turned to him. "Let's find something for you to do, sweetie." She excused herself from our conversation, handled his needs, and returned a few minutes later. "Sorry about that," she said. You were saying about the museums in Rome? It was such a small moment, but it represented everything I'd been fighting for. A parent taking responsibility for their child without expecting someone else to handle it. An adult conversation that could be interrupted and resumed. A family gathering where everyone participated according to their actual relationships, not assigned roles. I learned that boundaries aren't selfish, they're necessary for healthy relationships. By refusing to be the permanent babysitter, I forced my family to see me as a complete person rather than a service provider. Some relationships couldn't survive that adjustment, but the ones that did became stronger and more genuine. The children adapted too. They learned to form relationships with their parents and other family members instead of relying on one person for all their entertainment and attention. They discovered that family gatherings could be fun even when everyone had to take responsibility for themselves. My story isn't about hating children or being unwilling to help family. It's about recognizing when helping has become exploitation, and when saying yes to unreasonable requests means saying no to your own needs and relationships. Today I still enjoy spending time with my young cousins, but on equal terms with other family members. I'm not their default caregiver or entertainment director. I'm their adult cousin who sometimes plays games with them, sometimes has conversations with their parents, and sometimes just enjoys a quiet cup of coffee while observing the beautiful chaos of family life. The best part? When I do interact with the children now, it's because I want to, not because I have to. That makes all the difference, for them and for me.